Thank you, Amod, for the warm introduction. So before starting, again, already Amod has told about my background, but then yeah, I graduated in 2022. So little recent, and then I was working with Samsung for like around 2 years. Post which I moved to the social sector, founding Opengrad Foundation. So I'm like a very recent graduate of IIM Indore. I can bring in a PPT, I can bring in a slide. So the key takeaways from this particular talk will be like you will get at least you can burst some of your myths regarding the social sector because say not a lot of us get a lot of exposure about what social sector is all about and after MBA, especially top tier B school graduates, I mean, getting into social sector is not seen as a lucrative career option. But I can also touch upon how social sector can be, can be an interesting space in which you can explore like after your graduation and maybe build a strong career. Because our social sector in India need a lot of talented young people like from top B schools like I am Indore, and I mean, hopefully I'll be able to put a little spark about the sector in general. So I'll quickly share my screen and then I'll talk a little bit about my journey, how we started Open Foundation, what we are doing, and what we were able to accomplish in the past 1.52 years of running Open Foundation, trying to democratize access to elite higher education in India. And then we'll talk a little bit about social sector. And please make use of the Q&A because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you will be, I mean, social sector will be very new for a lot of you guys. So, I mean, hopefully, I mean, you'll be able to make better use of it. So I'm sharing my screen. So I am Sahil, the CEO and co-founder of Open Foundation. I have worn like multiple hats in the past, like 10 years of activity into volunteering, into community building, into a lot of student activities, clubs and committees. But then today I'll be talking as the CEO and co-founder of Open Foundation. And Open Foundation is a non-profit which is trying to enable underserved youth access to higher education. Uh, I'll first take you through my journey because since it's a very new organization, which is like India's one of the fastest growing nonprofits as of now, it's largely engraved with like my own journey or the founder's journey. So I'll talk about like where it all started. So again, I mean, my background is like so during my childhood, I was fascinated by this movie Three Idiots, and my idea about engineering was mostly about it's about making something. I mean, you make a lot of drones and cars and whatnot. So this was my idea about engineering, and fascinated by Three Idiots, I landed in an engineering college, uh, where I understood that the reality is slightly different. Say, like what is portrayed in the movie, even the guy who tried to commit suicide because he got low grades, even he got placements. But when it comes to reality, that's not the case. You'll be having your viva, you'll be having your return examination, semesters, and a lot of stuff. So they understood. I mean, BTech is also a lot more about the theory, and it's not just about building things. So, first year engineering, first day, it was like, I mean, an expectation versus reality strike did happen. But then I had to make use of my engineering, right? I mean, anyway, I have landed in an engineering college, and UG is generally a great platform where you can explore yourself. UG is not just about learning the course in which you have enrolled in and building a career from there. It's also about exploring that platform to see like what's your actual calling. So you can see great people like say Harsha Gogde or say Chetan Bhagat or Arvind Kejriwal or say Sushant Singh Rajput late coming out of like top colleges, though they are not doing anything related to their career. I mean, the course which they pursued. And so I also thought of utilizing my UG college as a platform to explore what's my actual calling. And then I tried to work with multiple organizations and finally landed in this organization called IEEE. So IEEE, for those who don't know, it's dated back to around 1850s, started by the likes of Albert Einstein and people of that sort. And then it's one of the world's largest technical professional organization, which is having like chapters in a lot of engineering colleges, which do some great work to advance technology for humanity. And I joined IEEE, and at that point of time, I was in 2018. I was heading the Kerala chapter, handling around 130 colleges of Kerala. I was the IEEE Kerala student chapter lead. Uh, and it was in the year of 2018, Kerala was hit by this huge deluge, one of the biggest floods in the past century. And what's unique about Kerala is, I mean, we were never prepared for that. And that was the time when me, along with a couple of my friends whom I met from IEEE, who were sitting in different parts of Kerala, we thought we'll build a portal, and the name of the portal was KeralaRescue.in. And it was a simple idea, like we basically wanted to channelize volunteers to help for the flood relief activities. So a website where a volunteer can register and the people can put in their request so that we'll be mapping the volunteers as well as the beneficiaries. So this was the simple idea. We launched the website on day one, and as days progress, we also made it open source. We hosted it in GitHub. In like 1 or 2 days, around 2,000 plus techies across the globe, including people who have been working in companies like fan companies like say Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, they all started contributing, and eventually it became one of the biggest open source projects in Kerala. To give you an idea about the magnitude, in like 5 days, we developed a portal with more than 15 features, including the people who are stuck in the floods can geotag themselves, and the disaster management team can easily identify where the people are stuck, and they could channelize their operations accordingly. There were features like you can find a missing person, you can just type in their Aadhaar number, and you will find which relief camp this person is right now. And it all happened through the community. It was all open source project. In 1 week, we were able to save 57,000 lives with the help of 50,000 volunteers who registered through the portal. And in like 2-3 days, the government officially took over the platform, and then they made it the official rescue rehabilitation activities portal of Kerala. So founding team, being the founder of KeralaRescue.in, made me realize the power of community and what community can actually do. So the entire KeralaRescue.in project happened without even spending a penny. You didn't pay any developer, even though you got some of the best developers out there in the world, because they were volunteering. So this is the unique aspect of volunteering. Say volunteering is the only way in which you can get quality talent which otherwise you cannot afford. So if you're running an organization, you want a developer. You have a budget, but when it comes to volunteering, say even you can get say the CEO of Microsoft to actually volunteer for you and give his services pro bono. So that's how unique volunteering is. So KeralaRescue.in was a great initiative, great effort from our side, and it had a lot of visibility. Even I got a lot of visibility. I was moved away by the visibility that during the semester 6, I was the only guy in my college to fail in all 6 subjects. All 6 subjects in the sense like my college used to rank around second or third among 156 colleges in my university. But then I single-handedly brought down my institute to rank 15 during that year. And I was having a special parents meeting as well. So that's how this volunteering and the entire KeralaRescue.in, the fame has put me into. But then that was a turning point in the sense I realized that, okay, I should also take some time off volunteering. I should, put it back to my academics. Bring back what I have lost. Then I tried to complete. My only aim was to complete my BTech in 4 years, and then that did happen. And then eventually, I was also clear that I wanted to do an MBA because it's a perfect avenue for someone with the kind of skill set which I was having. So I thought like, okay, I'll do an MBA. Cracked IIM Indore, and that was also a game changer thing. IIM Indore, I never expected I can land into IIM Indore, but thankfully it happened, and that has been a great turning point. And when I was in IIM Indore, I was training around 5 students for CAT in my personal capacity. So CAT is a common admission test, which is the entrance examination to get into IIMs. Thankfully, all 10 of them got into top 10, 15 B schools of the country. Then I asked myself, like, how did these people convert? Because these were people who were not having a lot of confidence. These were from very normal backgrounds who were not having any confidence that they could land in a tier 1 college. But then since I was there for them, always say every week they used to call, say, all of you have taken CAT and you know like how difficult it is. There will be lows, there will be ups. You will feel like quitting a lot of time. And when the person is not that motivated or when the aspirant is not having enough confidence, high chances that they will drop off in between. So I was a relatable role model for them because every week they called me. I used to tell them that I have also been in that place. So that's fine. You can just hold on. And this did happen. So finally, at the end of 2022, when I graduated from IIM Indore, I was having like a lot of key takeaways. One, obviously, I personally have experienced the joy of volunteering. Personally, on a personal basis, there are a lot of other tangible outcomes out of volunteering. You can improve your XYZ skills and you can also build in a network. But simply, the personally experiencing the joy of volunteering was a key takeaway from my experiences for the past like 6 years. And I'm talking about 2022. I was also thinking about the possibility of a peer-to-peer learning culture in education because I, being someone who just got into IIM Indore, I was able to train students. So if they can train more students, then that's a peer-to-peer learning culture which is inexistent in the education ecosystem as of now. Everyone has to pay for something. You pay money to the coaching institute and they give you some service, and this is how it usually happens. And I was thinking, just like how we made Kerala Rescue.in, what about like making something which can enable peer-to-peer learning, which is like you say all the people who are like watching this video helping say three other people to get into a top tier college. So that was my idea of that. And I also realized that education is the biggest equalizer. Say there are a lot of, lot of issues out there in the society, a lot of inequalities, and say there are a lot of systemic inequalities in place. But education is the biggest equalizer which can actually bring down these inequalities and can ensure that we are near to say an utopian world like how we talk about, right? So I also realized the power of education as an equalizer. And then fourth important thing is the volunteer can be game changer, especially in education, because I can get in a person from an IIM or an IIT or a Stanford or a Harvard to come and volunteer to teach couple of students, which otherwise I could not afford them. Otherwise I can't pay a Harvard graduate to come and teach my kids or teach the kids in my village, right? But through volunteering you can. So this was the idea. And then when I did a little bit more research about the entrance coaching landscape out there in the country, what I realized is that the average cost of entrance coaching in India is around 1.5 lakhs, whereas the average rural household income of a salaried employee is around 1.74 lakhs. Now, if they have to send their students for an entrance coaching examination, ideally they'll have to spend their entire earnings for a year, which is impossible. And there is a high barrier of entry for India 2 and India 3 to get into these colleges, mainly because of the lack of awareness as to what they can do after their schools, lack of mentors. They don't have like enough people to see and like get motivated. Say, for example, I got into IIM Indore purely because there were a lot of my seniors seniors from my UG college who got in there. So I was like, okay, if they can do that from coming from my similar background and studying in similar environments, then I can also do that. Very simple. Third one is accessibility. Say a lot of coaching institutions are clustered around like certain places like in Rajasthan and in Telangana, etc., which is like largely inaccessible to a majority of the Indian population, right? And it's too expensive, as we have already talked about. So we thought we will build an organization whose theory of change. So theory of change is more like the business model canvas in the nonprofit space, where it talks about what you actually want to achieve, what you want to do, and what you want to achieve. So our theory of change is equal access of opportunity to college education for eligible aspirants. Simple. I mean, we want to democratize it, and we want to ensure that everyone is having a go at it. Because it's almost, I mean, unfair to tell a child who has been going from school from say first standard till 12th standard. At the end of 14 years or 12 years, we are telling the kid that now you have to compete with the students from cities like Mumbai or Delhi who are having access to lakhs worth resources and exposure. To get into a good college is actually unfair. And say with the introduction of the common university entrance test, it has become almost impossible for a student from a normal background to get into these colleges because the competition is high. And unfortunately, the government sponsored education or the school education is not bridging for the same. I mean, you can access school for free. You can also score well in your boards, but what next? If there has to be a continuity, then they'll have to get into a good college. And only if they get into a good college. So we emphasize into tier 1 college because we believe that once a student gets into a tier 1 college, like say IIM Indore, it's not just about what you learn from the classrooms. It's also about the kind of people you meet, a lot of exposure you get, and a lot of other non-tangible outcomes like the kind of social status which you will improve, right? In the sense like earlier I used to get a mail response in 4 days, and now whenever I have that signature with Sahil Sameer, IIM Indore FBA, then I used to get it like in 2 to 3 hours. So that's also a huge leverage which like tier 1 colleges in India can give you, right? So I wanted like everyone in India to at least have an equal go at it. I don't want everyone to get into tier 1 colleges, but at least if they feel like they should be given an equal chance. So that was the idea. And then we thought like we'll build the Opengrad Foundation. The idea was like we'll collaborate with the top tier education institutions across the country. So we have kind of, collaboration with the social clubs of a lot of IIMs and SPJ and XLRI, a lot of other colleges when it comes to these schools. The NLU Delhi, the National Law University of Tamil Nadu, NLSAU, Bangalore, etc. when it comes to law colleges. Hanchurch College, Lady Sriram College, etc. when it comes to arts and commerce colleges. So through these collaborations, we bring in a lot of mentors who are like volunteering with us, who will be able to support the students. And on the other side, the students are being sourced through government partnership or NGO partnership. As of now, we are having partnership with the government of Tamil Nadu, the government of Chhattisgarh, the government of, we have a batch in Delhi as well as Darjeeling. So, two major government partners, which is Tamil Nadu and Chhattisgarh. So, through these partnerships, mostly we work with the tribal schools and we get in the right aspirants whom our volunteers can support. It's all online. 98% of our programs are online, though we are having a small offline touch point. Like during a cohort, we'll bring entire students into one center and give them a proper residential orientation for 3 to 4 days, where they can stay with the student from their dream colleges. Say, for example, if a student is say aspiring to get into an IIT, they can stay with an IITian for like 4 days and get motivated, right? And then they will also have an IITian or an NITian who will be coming to them on a call on a weekly basis. And this is like an elder brother or a sister who will be there to support them throughout the process. And it's all tech enabled. We have built a learning management system through which you can access like everything like what you can access from a conventional edtech, which is like the video lectures, mock tests, practice questions, etc. There is a volunteer management system through which we can ensure that the volunteers are interacting with the students properly, and we can track the entire interactions which has been happening, because a lot of minors are involved. So essentially, it's important to have a lot of checks and balances in place to ensure that there are no cases of abuses and to ensure that the system is going in place. We have a very robust feedback mechanism which is like easily accessible without even installing a new application. So it's a pain point. If you look from a PM point of view, if Opengrad Foundation is building new and new apps, that won't solve the problem, because then again asking all these kids from the tribal schools to install a new application in their phone or in their school computers is a little tough. And now we have built a wrapper for Telegram, through which, even without installing the application, they can clock their volunteering hours. Say, for example, if a volunteering is working with us and if they have contributed like around 10 hours, then that 10 hours will be clocked in the platform. And at any point of time, they can download a certificate from the Opengrad Foundation volunteer management system. They don't have to even talk to, say, a coordinator to get a certificate of acknowledgement for the work which they have done. Again, the idea is also to bring in socially conscious leaders for the future. And one of the biggest metrics for Opengrad Foundation is like 95% of our successful aspirants who got into top colleges, they came back as mentors for the next year. So this is the peer-to-peer culture which we are trying to build. Say 5 people getting into an IIM, and these 5 people will be bringing in, say, 5 more of their friends or 10 more of their friends, which is like 15 people who can now mentor students. So these 15 people training 3 people will be 45. So this is the kind of ripple effect or the butterfly effect which we aspire to see in the education sector, education industry, especially in the competitive exam preparation. And in most cases, when you have asked students from IITs or IIMs or say NLUs to volunteer with us, and once they have completed a cohort, they all come to us and say that now we are more aware of the kind of privileges we have. Because when they're interacting with these students and see the kind of passionate drive they put into getting into a top college and break the cycle of generational poverty and understanding the kind of struggles they go through, our mentors have become like more socially conscious. And this is one of the key takeaways of building the entire community around, right? And think about that. All the tier 1 college graduates who will be like the future decision makers in various strata of economy, and they being socially conscious will also bring in a lot of positive change to the economy and to the society for sure. So we started off with CAT, obviously, because I know CAT, I have cracked CAT. We have a lot of friends from IIM. Definitely, IIM Indore fraternity has been like very helpful when I was setting up the first batch. And at that point of time, I was still working with Samsung. I had no clue about the social sector. I was still working with Samsung after my MBA, and parallelly, I have started like a small CAT batch, completely free, of course. We don't charge any of our students. We had around 80 aspirants, which we sourced through our non-profit partners across the country. And we had like 40 mentors who were mostly my own friends. Our friends circle from IIM Indore, Lucknow, Kozhikode, and a lot of other colleges. Now, from our first cohort, 57% students converted into IIMs and other top B schools. Think about that. That's the power of peer-to-peer education. Say, one of the biggest challenges faced by the edtechs at present is the course completion. So I have talked to a lot of investors, VCs who are in the space, and they don't look at the result. They look at the course completion percentage. And the average So for a reputed, I'm talking on the basis of the conversation I have had with the director of a very reputed edtech platform out here in the country, and they told like of the 15 mocks which has been provided to the aspirant, the average number of mocks taken is only 3, which means a lot of students who pay in that kind of money to say enroll for a coaching program, the coaching institutes are not even able to retain them. They are also dropping off. And now, because they have a mentor who is like very relatable, who is coming to them on a call and telling them that this is okay. I mean, even if you have scored a 0 in the mocks, that is fine. I also have been in that place. So that will make a lot of difference. And that led to this sort of course completion as well as the conversion. I mean, the kind of conversion which we have did. Second cohort for CAT, again, we had around 500 aspirants from 80 to 500. That was the scale. The best part is like we got around 200 plus IIM calls. One of our students who got into IIM Bangalore the previous year, he came with 9 of his friends from IIM Bangalore, and now they are taking care of the end-to-end operations of the GDPA VAT, which is the interview preparations of these 200 students with the help of 120 mentors from around 50 tier 1 colleges, right? So now think about that. I mean, 1 year into running an organization of this sort, while we had beneficiaries who know and understood like the power of peer-to-peer learning education, they brought in a lot of their friends, and now this is a movement. So this is the kind of movement which we want to build in, and definitely we are going on a positive trajectory, because once people experience the kind of the outcomes which is coming out of their time and efforts, and once people experience the kind of support they can get from, say, the best part about Opengrad is like, say, if A is helping B, then A also knows that there will be another C in the same community who can help them in some other ways. So it's also a very unique community of people from B schools and from engineering colleges and arts and humanities colleges and law colleges coming together. So it's a huge community of students from top tier colleges where there are a lot of potential for collaboration and networking as well. So this is how we are trying to build the community around say education. Now this has been like one of your marquee projects. So last year we were very thankful to sign a statewide MOU, and that it's a record, because social sector organizations, non-profits takes like years and years, like 5 to 10 years to crack a government project that in a district level. But we, after showing like very promising results in the first few cohorts, we were able to sign a statewide MOU with the Tamil Nadu government and with the tribal welfare department. And we started working with 131 tribal schools. So think about that. I mean, every day from 3 to 4 p.m. in every tribal schools across Tamil Nadu is Opengrad Foundation. They have built this, high-tech digital labs where they have a lot of like computers, like what you can see in the screen, and projectors as well. So we'll be taking live classes on a daily basis, and on the weekends they can interact with the mentor. So from the student POV, normal classes is what they get on top of that mentor. So mentorship is the USP which we are providing, right? And success offer in Tamil Nadu, we just completed a cohort for CLAT, and like law entrances to get into national law universities, very less number of seats, of which already our 38 of our students have cleared the NLU cutoff. For the first batch from the tribal schools of Tamil Nadu within 6 months of running the program. And thanks to our mentors from the Tamil Nadu National Law University, so we were mapping volunteers from Tamil Nadu National Law University. Like every 3 students used to get a mentor whom they used to go to. They used to give them a lot of tips on how to prepare and a lot of steps. So this has been a very solid project. And after the success of this particular project in Tamil Nadu, they have asked us to take up the other programs as well. In the sense like they understood the power of peer-to-peer learning model, and they are like, okay, you do JE, you do NEET, and you do CUET, and you do whatever you want. And we have reached into that level where we are having this say in the policy making of the Tamil Nadu higher education for the tribal department. I mean, in every call, Opengrad Foundation can suggest as to what they can do to improve the enrollment of their students in higher education, to make sure that they get into top colleges, and they can also sustain in the colleges once they crack into the same, right? And the best part is like, even though we were just starting, after putting in a very small amount, we were able to even unlock a 37 lakh grant from the government, from the Tamil Nadu government. So it's very tough to make the government pay. If you provide some services for free, it's like still easy. I mean, you can say that I'll do the social service, I'll do something of that sort, but then making the government pay in the first year has also been a little tough. But then after seeing the success of the peer-to-peer learning model, and after seeing the enthusiasm of the volunteers and the kind of efforts they have been putting in, and how much results it has brought to the students of Tamil Nadu, they were like, okay, we are ready to pay, put in the money. So that has been like a great journey working with the Tamil Nadu government. Similarly, we also started working with Chhattisgarh, the MBC, as well as the Bastar district. We are doing CUT UG there. We started a cohort in Delhi, working with the underprivileged communities, girl students in Delhi, working with the Karam Trust. So Karam Trust has been offering a scholarship for higher studies. And now we told them, like, we'll train the students, we'll get them into colleges, and then you give the scholarship. So that we can pick the most deserving students, we can give them the training once they get in. Karam will give them the scholarship so that there is a continuity if they convert as well. Even if they convert, they can sustain. Similarly, in Darjeeling, we are having, say, batches in Northeast as well with Eastern Himalayan Foundation, another awesome organization who is working on ground, and we are like, okay, we are ready to train the students, and great results coming from there as well. And organization overview, so we were very thankful that like 1 month into, so I moved into the social sector. Once I resigned from Samsung, I had no clue that to how to sustain. I mean, I didn't even know that you can take a salary when it comes to social sector. I was actually afraid to tell my parents that I'm going to quit my corporate and then get into social sector, right? So I told my parents I'll be taking a 6 months break. But 1 month into quitting my job from Samsung, I was fortunate enough to get incubated by the Nudge. The Nudge is, those who don't know, like the best social incubator across the country, which is being founded by Atul Satija, who was the CMO of Immobi, and he was also the Asia Pacific business head of Google, and he's a great guy out there. So he moved into the social sector, building this awesome space for the non-profits where they get access to the governments, to the funders, to the advisors. And through Nudge, we also get Gobishan Katagada, the past CTO of Tata Group, who has been closely working with Ratan Tata as one of our advisors as well. And then we got like great people like Venkat Krishnan, again, an IMA alum who has set up, who's the founder of Give India, and he's a great philanthropist as of now. Punit Pushkarna is in the board of governors of IM Nagpur, and he runs a venture fund based out of Singapore called Solmar. Rajiv Kuchal, one of the very early employees of Infosys, is the VP of Infosys, and then people like Sujata Madhav, again, VP of TCS, Gayatri Sohar, who's the senior director of Nudge. So we got all these people and support ecosystem through Nudge. So going into Nudge, I mean, I was searching actually, like after quitting the job, you will be panicking. You don't know like how are you going to sustain, how are you going to fund your project. So that's the time when I saw Nudge in Google. I knew nothing about the Nudge, but then I used Chat GPT to fill in a form because the deadline was about to end. So I just had 30 minutes to fill in the application. Thankfully, by seeing the founder profile, again, thanks to IIM Indore, because once I asked them, like, they also told, like, I mean, founder profile is very important, right? I mean, when young people graduating from colleges like IIM Indore and moving into the social sector, they'll also be, like, curious to see, like, as to what motivated these guys to take up this path. The first round of interview, after we had like 4 rounds of rigorous interview, 500 organizations, they just select 10. So that's the kind of selection percentage they were having. But after having the conversation with the senior director, who was a Harvard alum, who was working with the Nudge, he told, like, I mean, I like your passion, but then you know nothing about the social sector. To be honest, they literally told that. But then after that, I mean, he gave a lot of feedback because he sort of liked us. I mean, young people moving into the sector. We worked a lot, and then the second round was with Shekhar Bonu IAS, who's an ED Ayog fellow. So even these people were helping me understand. I mean, they all like the kind of passion. And finally, I think it's because of the passion, though the product was entirely different from what I have wished or what I have been talking about. They selected us, and it has been a great journey. And then we got into the IIM Bangalore's incubator, which is the NSRCL. We then we was the best organization in the cohort of NSRCL by the end of the journey, right? We were also awarded the top 10 organizations pan India for leadership in volunteer engagement by iVolunteer in 2023 and 24. And also, I should say, I mean, Shahid has been a great co-founder. I mean, he's an IPMer. And when he joined IPM in 2017, he created something called the Alpha IP Map, which was an edtech which will teach students for IPM, and it was completely run by the students of IIM Indore. So he started off this edtech culture out there, and he ran it for like 3 years. And then that was also one of the biggest motivation of, I mean, I have seen in firsthand like how when the students itself teach the aspirants, then how much impact it can create. Right. And Amit is my junior from my UG college, great guy in tech, and he's sitting out of Germany. He's handling all our tech operations and things like that. And as of now, have, I mean, it's a pretty old slide. I mean, we have actually touched 25,000 volunteering hours, and we have raised around 1.6 crores in capital. And we are having around 700 plus volunteers as of now, the latest figures. And then, yeah, that's about Opengrad Foundation. Now, I think I can talk a little bit more about social sector, but then looking forward to see like if you guys have any doubts or if you want to understand a little bit about the model, or if you are like, okay, you also want to venture into social sector at some point of time, then please feel free to ask questions. I'll be happy to take cases of, say, organizations who are in different industries within the social sector, and I'll be able to help you understand more about the same. Thank you. Thanks a lot for listening to me. Bye bye. Okay, now I can take questions. Yeah.
Right. Anyone who has a question, please, you can raise your hand or type it in the chat if you can't unmute yourself. We're open to questions. Meanwhile, the questions come. I actually have a question of my own. So,
yeah,
during my undergrad, when I was thinking of what to do as a career path for myself, impact investing came as one of those things that, really stood at the intersection of you get the good money and also you do the sort of social sector work that you really want to do and be involved with that part of the world. And primarily it was because of another alum that we had, Kapil Kanungo, who was into impact investing. So I sort of wanted to know from you, industries like those, like impact consulting, like impact finance, how much of it is actually social sector and how much it is the regular corporate world?
Yeah. So, when it comes to impact investments or social sector, there are a lot of organizations which are in the social sector, which means like they are doing something for the social good, and still they are like proper corporates. They are like for-profit organizations, and there are like great examples. You might have learned the case study of Arvind Eye Care for that reason. So Arvind Eye Care is having a cross-subsidizing model where they are having a profit-generating wing and they are having a non-profit sort of thing, and they're sort of cross-subsidizing, right? So there are similar models in which impact investors are mostly interested in because they also want the return. But when it comes to a non-profit organization, say it can be a trust, it can be a Section 8 organizations, though it's advised that. So earlier, mostly social sector organization was mostly about hunger feeding. Because that was the kind of problems. The priority was to feed hunger. And there were a lot of funds which has been allocated to feed hunger, and the entire idea about, say, whenever we hear the words NGO, we'll associate it with like someone who is working for disability rights or someone who is like feeding the poor. But that entire concept has gone. Though hunger feeding is very important, now there are like crazy organizations working out here which is generating revenue as well. So for a non-profit organization, it's completely okay to generate a revenue. I'll tell you the example of Mitti Cafe. So Mitti Cafe is run by Alina Alam, who is like a very dear friend of mine. So she was in Bangalore. I think she was studying in Christ, and she started it 5 years back. She saw a person with disability who was like begging on the road. And she went to like 5 different homes and she collected a small table, she collected a flask, and she collected some cups. And she asked him to sell tea. This is how she started. And now Mitti Cafe is having 65 outlets, which is completely run by differently able people, including places like, say, the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the Lucknow Airport, the Bangalore Airport, the Wipro corporate offices, employing 5,000 people. And if you go to these Mitti Cafes, they serve awesome food. And the ambience is good. The services is top notch. And they are selling their product and services at a market price, which means they are getting a revenue. And they are also getting a profit out of it, right? So that's like completely fine in the social sector. If you have a product and services, then you can pay. At the same time, you can also make use of the philanthropic capital. So when it comes to philanthropic capital, mostly in the social sector, it's not like an investment. It's mostly like a grant. You are giving out something. Say maybe the CSRs will be having, companies will be having a lot of inclination and they'll be investing out there. There are a lot of HNAs and UHNAs who want to contribute, and then they don't look at the return part. They just look at the social ROI. When you talk about the social ROI, if you talk about a CAT program of Opengrad Foundation, CAT is a 250x program. Say, for example, we can train a student at 3,000 rupees. And if someone is investing 3,000 rupees for a student, after like the first year, they may be earning like around 15 lakh rupees on average from a top 30 college, right? Now, this is the social return which they'll be getting. So we used to say that CAT is a 250x ROI project. or Clat is a 60x ROI project. So this is also the kind of ROI which a lot of investors are looking into, especially in the social space. There are a lot of family funds and there are a lot of international family funds which is like contributing money for, I mean, the social sector. So you have a lot of, I mean, money which you can utilize to do impact work, because in certain organizations they can't ask the customers to pay. So we at one point we can ask at least one section of our customers to pay, right? But say if it's an NGO who is working with the sex workers of Mumbai, for example, they can't ask their beneficiaries to pay. Or when you are working with autistic children, you can't ask the customers to pay because they don't have the capacity to pay. There are certain downsides as well when you are not asking the customers to pay and when someone else is paying for the customers. So that's mostly how it works now. During our childhood, I mean, we have not paid for our education. Our parents paid for our education because they care for us. Now, there are a lot of other people who care for, I mean, not just their child, but they care for others as well. So that's the only difference between like the business models. Usually the customer you pay money, you get an iPhone. Now here I am paying the money and you are asking someone else, you are asking to teach someone else, or you are asking to give someone else an access to social mobility. So this is the idea. I mean, it's slightly different. Mostly for-profit people and for-profit investors won't understand the social sector. They'll be straight away asking, what's your business model? What's your ROI? What's your revenue sustaining scheme? But that's not how it works. You also have to think about the larger picture. You need a lot of funding for failure. Say, for example, 95% of Silicon Valley startups fail. Now, a lot of money has been invested and it still fails. And nobody has a problem with that. But when it comes to social sector, for every penny that is being spent on the social sector, we have to show results. And there is no cushion to sort of fail, right? So this is also something which we are educating the funders. As front runners in the social space, we are telling the funders as in, come on, buy. I mean, I can't assure you the results in 2 years. Because this is a new thing. This is a new set of customers who have never experienced something of this sort. So we might need a lot of time to experiment and fail and then improvise. So funding for failure is also another thing which we are all, I mean, as social sector founders, we're pushing.
I think that answers my question, but I also have a follow-on. So, while I was reading more about you, I got to know that you were involved with the making of Pocket Eye. And then you mentioned Kerala Rescue and now Opengrad. So you've sort of had that tech background of building platforms. So how did that background come into the way that Opengrad is now set up? One. And second, for someone who doesn't have that sort of a background, how do they go about it?
Yeah. So to be honest, I did my engineering, but I did my electronics and communication engineering. Though I know a little bit of coding, I didn't do Kerala Rescue.in, I didn't do Pocket Eye, I didn't do Opengrad Foundation because I know tech. The only good thing about me is like I am having a lot of empathy for tech people. Say for example, if I ask someone to develop a website, I know that whether if I'm giving a deadline of 2 days and if I'm asking them to make a very responsive 9-page website, I should be having the empathy to think about like whether that person will be able to do that. And that's the best thing about, say, if you look at product management. In earlier, product management was mostly about like engineers and people with engineering background used to get into product management, but that's not the narrative now. I mean, people who can have a little empathy for tech people and who can think creatively without having the constraints of knowing a lot of tech, they can bring in a lot of differences. Because if I am a proper techie, then I'll be having a lot of, straight away during brainstorming and ideating itself, I will be like, okay, this is not technically feasible or this will be like a lot of challenge technically, so I won't do that. So not having a lot of tech know-how actually have helped me build all the three. Say, for example, when it comes to Pocket Eye was again, so when Product Management Club happened, and then we were ideating as to what we can do. We were like, that was the COVID time when only 15 people were allowed in the gym at a single point of time, and we had to we were plotted an Excel sheet where we'll have to book the slots for the gym. And we were like, this is something which can easily be automated. And again, class timetables, a lot of shifts between classes because it was all hybrid classes. So we just started it with an idea. Then only after completely ideating the platform, we even consult the techies and ask like boss whether this is possible. So what this essentially do is like you don't have any constraints of technology. Only the only belief which drives is like whatever we ideate, ultimately building the tech is the easiest part of it. Like every product across the world, building the tech is the easiest one. you build a strong business model, or you find a lot of, a strong use case for a product. You ideate that, you do the UI UX, and you do the entire thing. Then building it like the easiest task. I mean, if we can't do it, we can easily outsource that. There are a lot of people who can do that as a freelancing project. You can find a lot of techies out there. You can collaborate with like technical institutions and get it done. So yeah, that helps. Essentially.
Thank you. That answers my question. One last thing. We have Viren on the call. Viren is the Prod Lab Secchi for the coming year, 25-26. Hi, Viren. Sahil was the Secchi when he was in his second year. So I thought of maybe introducing you too, and you can have that introduction. Maybe I'll share
Great. So I hope, I would like to understand, what's happening in Prod Lab, what's cooking in Prod Lab. Great work. You are just going to take over, but I believe that you have been the junior team member. But I've been following the socials of Fraud Lab, and I'm like too proud. So proud to see that. And like, okay, juniors are doing a great work with taking the legacy forward, and doing justice to the kind of hard work which we, as the founding team members, have put into the organization.
Yeah, hi Sahil. So great to talk to you. And we truly hope to like live up to your legacy, like you're founding a great startup and like working on it. Uh, if you are talking about the current scenario, like currently we have I'm targeting two objectives for my tenure. First one is releasing the Pocket Eye application. Right, we have a Pocket Eye website, and like currently that's how it works.
But
So
now it's a web app, right? Web application.
yes. So
Okay.
we're focusing on launching it on Play Store and Apple iStore, and then we are another focusing on the second vertical, that is like releasing our casebook for the public. Right now,
Great.
it's
Great.
regulated, so we are working on it to improve the content and so that we can release it publicly.
Oh, that's amazing. If you want any connects with regard to, say, someone to build some products, or if you want some connects with, say, prodmans across the industry, do let me know. Like, I'll be very happy to support. Yeah,
Yes. I just had one question.
please.
You talked about Opengrad and all. How do you compete or let's say target specific for the cat vertical, like organizations such as Theomi, Underdogs, that work on same peer-to-peer vertical and like they are free of cost and everything.
Yeah. So first of all, the biggest USP is the beneficiary in itself, right? Our beneficiaries will never go into a Byju's or an academy or say Crackle or whatever, because we are the first people who ideally will be telling the beneficiaries that there is some opportunities of this sort which exist, which you can try out. So our beneficiaries are mostly the first generation learners who don't have any idea. So all these platforms which you have mentioned are for the ones who are aware about CAT, say for example, aware about MBA, and who are having access to internet, who can search in the internet and find stuff. But the kind of people which we work with mostly are the people who don't have the capacity to pay, and they do not have the capacity to, they don't have the awareness and they don't have the confidence that they can crack it. So this is what happens. I have traveled across the country, visited a lot of government schools. One, they don't have a lot of relatable role models. Seniors from their own schools who have got into good colleges, whom they can look up to. Second, they don't have the confidence in themselves, right? So this is where our roles comes into play. And CAT, I do agree that there are a couple of communities which are trying peer to peer, but then again, not catering. There are a lot of startups which has been catering like the top 5% of the population, but there are not a lot of products who have been built to cater to the rest of the population in India. And that's where the governments and the NGOs and the public-private partnerships and everything has to come into the picture. So to answer your question short, our beneficiaries is the biggest differentiator, because our beneficiaries will never reach the kind of platforms which you just quoted. Second, most of our intervention is in the UG level. CAT is more of an ambitious project which we do in the sideways, but our government partnership projects are all UG entrances. So in UG entrances, this whole concept of peer-to-peer education is simply not there. There are no platforms which is doing it at scale that to it free of cost with high quality resources. You might find video lectures and stuffs in the internet, but when it comes to actually a senior coming on a call on a weekly basis at free of cost is not happening as of now. Again, if you look at most of 90% of our students are first generation learners who are from the tribal schools, who would never realize that there is a course called, say, a JE or a CLAT or a NEET unless we go and tell them. So they don't have the intrinsic motivation. So there's also a downside to it because they don't know how to complain. So even if our quality of the content is not that great, Since they are not directly paying for it, they can't complain. But that is we as an organization, Opengrad Foundation is trying to solve for ourselves. We want our students to experience the best quality content, even though they are not asking for it. Because for someone who have never had a biryani, for example, if you give them some biryani, they'll be like, okay, awesome. But then for someone who is having a benchmark of having a lot of great biryanis across the globe, they'll be like, okay, this is not a great biryani because I have had better. So they have not had better. So that's the difference.
Makes sense. Thanks a lot for clarifying. If it's possible, like we can somehow integrate OpenGrad with our REP as well. Because I had the similar experience when we went for REP, like we had to talk to the school students, and we also kind of conducted a, let's say, information session where we talked about like what are the other streams that you get into, what are the competitive exam that you can get into.
Okay.
I think that
Great, great. I mean, definitely. I mean, please write me a mail. I mean, it's out there. My mail ID is out there in the public. I mean, it's sahil@opendad.in. So please feel free to send a mail. We'll take it up from there.
sure. We'll love to connect with you later. Thanks, man.
Great. I think thank you, Viren. Thank you, Sahil. I'll just wind up the talk. Thank you, everyone, for being part of the talk. On behalf of the alumni committee, thank you, Sahil, for taking out time on a Saturday for us. We're grateful for your insights, and I'm sure all of us gained from it. I would also like to thank the Chair, Alumni Affairs, Professor Pabin Panigrahi, for his guidance and support, and the Alumni Office. Finally, a thank you to the audience for being engaging, and we look forward to seeing you at our next session as well. Thank you, Sahil. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a great day.